All right. Hello, welcome to Political Bedlam. Starting off with some laughter. Me and Cass have a great friendship. We've been doing nothing but...
You're just the worst person. I want you to know that.
Yeah, that's
a terrible human being.
We've been badgering each other on social media for the past couple of days, just itching to pod.
We're ready. Bring on the pod.
And then we just come in. He comes into my house and just have some drinks, and we're just talking like normal people.
Well, not like normal people, but normal for us.
Yeah, normal for us. Going to talk some fun stuff today. Going to try and keep it local for the first little bit. Talk about how Lord is finally moving in some real and powerful ways, getting rid of the fake Republicans. We're going to talk a little bit about how Cass and his fellow leftists are actually undermining their own case against Trump, a Chandler theory. And we're probably going to wrap it up by just talking about Star Trek, pros and cons of various series, and our fantasy crew, our fantasy enterprise crew.
I'm excited. I didn't know that's what we were doing.
I posted mine on Facebook. I can't believe you didn't comment the other day.
Okay, well, I'm going to be working on that in the background of my mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Explaining why we're not doing the thing you said we were doing. We'll get to it.
Yes.
I'm amped tonight. I'm ready to go.
Well, good nights for the primaries.
Oklahoma voted.
Most of the people that I had on my list won their elections. About the week beforehand, I went through news articles, and I wasn't aware of all the races. I knew that we had to... how do I put this nicely? So, we already have elephants and hippos, right? Do we really need rhinos?
Can we explain hippos?
Huh?
What on God's earth is a hippo?
I don't know. I'm saying we already have two giant gray animals. We don't need rhinos too. So let's get rhinos out of our politics.
Okay, now I'm on the same page. All right,
yeah.
That was a very funny joke that I ruined. I'm really sorry.
It's okay. No, I think you're just over me calling because we've been texting back and forth, and I've been like, rhinos,
exactly.
Get rid of rhinos.
And I'm going to explain why it's a nonsense term, but do your spiel.
It's not a nonsense term. Rhinos are a real thing. Rhino in chief, actually no longer a real thing, going extinct. Woo! And actually real rhinos and political rhinos, which I'm fine with both. Rhino in chief, John McCain passed last weekend, and while sad for his family, great for the party. And also giant rhino / man who hates guns but acts like he doesn't, Mick Cornett, lost his runoff to our boy Stitt, and it was a good night. It's a good night for all of us. I don't know. I'm really excited about it, and part of the reason I'm really excited about it is because all of my leftist friends are online are like, you guys should really vote for Mick Cornett. It's like, your endorsement of Mick Cornett is just a tacit endorsement for Stitt. So,
look, I'm not.
You only did that to me in person. You did not do that online.
I didn't do that online. No, I'm not going to say I haven't been telling my conservative friends to vote for Cornett.
It was
However,
stupid.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's, I don't understand why you didn't. I see Cornett, and I'm not afraid of him, but I also have so much more to lose than you do. So,
That really made me you guys don't want Bernie. You guys should really be voting for Hillary. Would you listen to me on that? Would you really listen to me on that?
Yeah, I debated. Well, I mean, I would. I didn't become a leftist till after the election, but yeah.
Oh, well, we're gonna have to dive into that. That's a whole episode. Might have to find out what point in time that is so we can go back.
It was 8:15. Yeah, the day after. Anyway,
we'll fix that.
We'll get there.
We'll fix that time machine. Okay, well, Cass, I've explained to you why rhinos are bad and deserve to go extinct.
I think that's what you did, but
yeah.
Here's the thing. Republican in name only. Define that for me. You need to tell me exactly what that is. And don't tell me why it's good or bad. Just tell me the definition and go from there. And I'll go from there.
There are certain values. A lot of it overlaps with conservatism, but not necessarily always. But I'd say about 80% of conservatism and republicanism overlap, and a lot of conservative values and smaller government values are what are traditionally Republican. And whenever you get someone who puts an R next to their name and believes in none of it, they are what we call a rhino.
Okay, but believes in none of what? Rhinos are real, unicorns aren't. What's this invisible standard that you're holding all Republicans to?
Rhinos are no longer real.
Constantly evolving.
Well, yeah, the Republican Party is constantly evolving. I
mean,
I
Trump
wouldn't
is
say
different than
that.
Bush, who
I
is
wouldn't
different
say
from
that
Reagan.
drastically, and that we'll actually talk more about Trump later. Policy Trump and Bush are actually very, very similar, minus a few differences. One of which being the border, but other than that, they are very, very similar in policy.
Okay, so you're saying that rhinos are only performatively not Republicans? Okay, let's take the number one rhino.
No, it could be performatively, it could be rhetorically. Typically, it's performatively over rhetorically, but I mean, you could make the case for either one being a rhino. I would say though that actions speak louder.
Would you call Lindsey Graham a rhino?
Not as big as one as McCain, but yes, he's a rhino.
Okay, let's go with McCain. He's a rhino. What makes him a rhino? The fact that he doesn't vote the party line every time?
No, the fact that he's it's not that he didn't vote the party line. I get not voting the party line, but it's whenever you vote against the party, like for 45% of your career. It's like
45%. You think he voted 45%?
It was between 35 and 40%.
I don't do this often, but I'm going to fact check that.
You should.
Okay.
That's not me fact checking that. That is me from what I have heard.
Okay.
Particularly against Obamacare, against DOMA, which I didn't agree with, but that was back in '96, I believe. Yeah, there's some big things that McCain did not vote for the party line, and he was always called Maverick, which is the dumbest thing ever, because he's like, he doesn't care, he doesn't have to be Republican, he'll work against the party line. Would you like to use my laptop instead?
I would love to use your laptop instead.
Let me take it off Linux. Would you like to just Google search that and continue? I will, and you can do it over the break and we can decide.
Yeah, real quick.
Oh shoot, hold on. I don't want to have dead air, so I was saying maybe you can look it up and then we can talk about it here.
Oh, sorry, I misunderstood. Okay, I thought you were going to edit this out. Okay, so I'm looking up at 538. They're the number guys. And Republican John McCain.
Leftist tripe.
It's not leftist tripe. It's just nothing. It's nothing. It's not. It's just numbers.
But they spell it like words, Cass.
They do spell
it's leftist tripe.
Republican senator for Arizona until August 25th, 2018. Trump score. McCain voted with Trump 83% of the time. His predicted score was 61.2. So 17 and 39 are two very different numbers. What you're describing is his predicted score. How often he was expected to vote with Trump.
Well, you're talking about with Trump. I mean, this man's been in Congress for 35 years.
Okay, let's take a look. Let's see if this goes any further. Okay, but you have to assume that if he votes with Trump that often, he's going to vote with other Republicans just as, if not more often, because Trump is, I mean, isn't he a rhino? Is he an actual Republican?
That's a good question. I don't think Trump is personally a Republican. I think that the power behind the throne, so to speak, and the actual way he's trying to govern is Republican. Who knows what he actually is?
Okay, but if your party elects a president, that person becomes the party leader and also the platform leader, regardless of what the party tries to do. So the party leader of the Republicans right now is Donald Trump. Would you agree with that statement?
Yeah, but depending on who you ask. But yeah, I'd say just for the...
I'm asking you.
Yeah, for like anyone looking out... For Republicans would say no. Republicans would say no. But for anyone else, and if Republicans were being honest with themselves, yeah, probably.
Okay, great. So is Trump different than Bush?
Yes, on a few things. In terms of the way he talks, absolutely.
Well, okay,
he talks like a border nationalist. Like he's borderline nationalist.
Okay.
But the way he governs is pretty darn similar.
Okay, is Bush different from Reagan?
Again, pretty close.
Okay, is Reagan different from Nixon?
I don't really remember too much about Nixon,
Besides
besides his major accomplishments.
From Eisenhower? Yes.
Nixon's a little bit different from Eisenhower.
Yes.
Eisenhower is by far the most different in that group.
I would say Nixon, but that's a different conversation. But yes, the point is they're all radically different from each other.
Really? I don't know, man. I'm saying that they still...
I mean, I skipped Bush and I skipped Gerald Ford, but, I skipped Bush 1.
Gerald Ford was a Democrat, was he not?
Gerald Ford? No, Gerald Ford was
Was he?
Nixon's vice. You're thinking of Jimmy Carter.
No, I'm not thinking of Jimmy Carter. I really was thinking Gerald Ford was a
Gerald
Democrat.
Ford was definitely a Republican.
Yeah, you're right. If
Yeah.
he was Nixon's vice, I wasn't thinking of it like that.
So, like,
I'm Jerry. I like movies.
parties are not a political ideology. Parties are constantly changing. Like, we don't have a term in the Democratic Party for Democrats in name only.
Yeah, you do. They're called Blue Dog Democrats. Blue Dog Democrat is the equivalent of a rhino.
I don't think we say that nearly as often as you do.
No, you don't. You don't. But I mean, it's because it's not as big of a thing, or hasn't been as big of a thing. Like my grandma's a Blue Dog Democrat.
We almost ran a non-Democrat as our presidential candidate.
But he's not a Blue Dog Democrat because he's not. He's like the Blue Dog Democrat is closer to the center than the Democrat is. Bernie is further left than the Democrats were. He was not a Blue Dog Democrat.
Right.
Bernie was a Democratic socialist.
I'm not speaking about the political spectrum. I'm speaking about the differences between the candidates. But okay, so let's take it back to Oklahoma.
Yeah. I was about to say we
were getting way off track. But okay,
needed to be hashed out.
So okay, talk about the Republicans in name only that lost.
Cornette, a man who has said he wouldn't have signed my precious constitutional carry bill.
Oh God.
A man that constantly criticized Republicans in the House on education funding. A man that wanted to raise taxes in many respects. Cornette. Well, I would say this specifically. This isn't really Republican or Democrats. They both do this. Took corporate money to do a bunch of shady stuff. So the biggest issues off the top of my head, particularly the taxes and the carry one. You saw the thing I texted you, right? About like, oh yeah, I'll go to the range. I'll hit some balls at Top Golf. It's like, dude, that is not what they were asking you. You cop out.
Whoa! You think that was a real interview?
No, it wasn't a real interview, but I mean, like...
It was exemplifying his position. Got it.
Absolutely
okay.
It was.
Yeah, no, I read that. Shout out to the Lost Blank.
Blank. We're not going to talk about your website, Aaron, because you won't come onto the podcast. Was his name Aaron? I'm trying to remember. I think it was Aaron.
I don't know. They're your people.
Yeah.
You need to tell me that story sometime. You've never
No, I mean, he recently had a baby, and I'm sure he or she is beautiful. I haven't really kept up with it too much, but he said he'll probably be free in the upcoming school year, and he would like to pod.
That would be great.
Yeah.
But,
he's not going to if he hears that I got his name wrong. Oh, gosh.
No, I think that's when he decides, like, oh, I have to be on now. So.
First off, my name is Greg, you douche.
Okay, so great. What is these real Republicans? Tell me what they are. Don't tell me what they aren't. Tell me what they are.
Smaller government.
What does that mean?
A government that is less in not only funding but in scope of their duties and I guess abilities as well. Power. A government that is more liberal in terms of gun rights. Not liberal as
that was some interesting semantics you just did.
Yeah.
But
I approve.
I approve.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, to those at home, not liberal as in
lowercase l.
Not liberal as in Huffington Post, but liberal as in like free and lax. One who is at least, if not necessarily taking action, but will acknowledge religious freedom. I think it's a real touchy subject, and I think that's one of the few ways. I wouldn't agree with you that the Republican Party is evolving overall, but I will say that is one of the ways that they are evolving. Is you got people like me, the real conservative heavy hitters like Chandler Ogle, that are disagreeing with people like Ben Shapiro.
Yeah.
I'm just agreeing with people like Ben Shapiro and disagreeing with people like Glenn Beck over religious liberty because I don't know. That's one, but I would say pro-life is one. Though that's starting to change more and more too. Those are the two big ones that are starting to change within the Republican Party. For the most part, smaller government, less taxes, and gun rights have remained the same, but religious freedom or religious liberty, whatever they call it, and abortion are things that Republicans are starting to split on. But yeah, I guess those were some of the criteria, and
What I find interesting about the Republican Party is that even though you'll split on these issues, you're still more unified as a unit. What's that?
Than whom?
Than Democrats.
Oh yeah,
like what's the saying? I think it was Reagan who said, "Never speak ill of your fellow Republican."
Yeah.
Yeah, and you all are really good at that.
Yeah.
Once the primaries are over, you all kick it into gear. Democrats don't do that. We're soft and weak.
Well, I mean, there are things we need to fix about our party, and things we probably need to come to a consensus on. But I mean, at the end of the day, the enemy is you.
We don't look in those terms, which is why we lose so often. Is because we fail to see politics as the win or lose game that it is. There's none of this back and forth, reaching across the aisle nonsense, because that's not how it works. That's just not how it works.
That's how it can work when people are in power. But if you're running for election, no.
Yeah, so, I mean, anyway, that was my own little diatribe. But on the left side in District 81, we had...
did you guys have a runoff?
Yeah, we had a runoff.
That's our district, right?
District 81 is our district, yes.
Did our girl win?
Did what?
Did our girl win?
Kendra Horn?
No.
She ran unopposed.
Talking about Derek Phillips? What are we talking about? We're not talking about our congressperson?
No, we're talking about Corporation Commissioner and Representative for District 5.
Oh, okay.
Representative for District 5 was Kendra Horn versus Tom Guild. Kendra Horn won.
Yeah, so I voted for science.
Yeah, I voted for her. Tom Guild probably stole some of her signs, so it's impressive you still saw a lot of her signs.
Well, I didn't see any of his.
Well, you heard about what happened with Tom Guild.
No.
Back in...
I don't pay attention to you guys. No.
Well, Tom Guild was caught on camera stealing a bunch of his opponent's signs. Which, you lose if you do that. And that's fair, Tom. Come on. And
come on the show and talk about it.
Here's the thing, Tom. You have one of your, teenage interns do that. Obviously, all of you do that. All of you running do that kind of stuff. You don't do it yourself. That's not very statesman-like, Tom.
Yeah.
And then for Corporation Commissioner, it was Blake Cummings against Ashley Nicole McRae.
They really did that?
Yeah.
Obama wasn't running the drones. He had people drone other people for him. Tom, if you learn nothing. Sorry, go on. It's unbelievable to me.
He lost, so we'll see him run in the next 2 years once there's another election, because that's what he does. Anyway, Blake Cummings lost to Ashley Nicole McRae. So everyone I voted for won.
I haven't heard of any of these people.
These are very small elections. The only one that everyone's talking about is Cornette and Stitt. And we know how that ended. Republicans in Oklahoma proven that they really like what Trump is doing, so they're voting for little mini Trump, who
but he's not
has business experience.
Yeah, so he's what Trump claims to be.
Yeah.
So he's a man who started out with $1,000 he saved up from college and a laptop and built an actual thriving business, not I got a small loan of $1 million. He wasn't that.
Yeah, Gateway Mortgage is his company. He's been...
we do business with them. Or you do business with them. At my old company.
Right.
Which will remain nameless.
Oh, I just remembered I should probably not say certain things.
No, you can say it. Who cares?
Say whatever I want. Yeah. Gateway Mortgage is barred from doing business in Georgia.
Why? Those stupid Georgians.
Well, nothing actually ever, there was never any, legal case brought against them. They settled out of court. So, whatever it was, we don't know. His company's listed as one of the most, not sketchy, there's a word that this whole
unscrupulous?
Unscrupulous is a good word. He had more people per capita sign up for bad mortgages under his company.
When was this?
This is during the mortgage crisis.
That doesn't surprise me.
So, yeah.
To his credit, though, that was happening everywhere.
I mean, sure, but, he's still a part of it.
Oh, yeah, no, definitely.
And he's going to be the next governor of Oklahoma unless you Democrats show up. So the onus is on. Honestly, I'm not even mad at Republicans if he wins. I'm not even mad at him if he wins. If he wins, I'm mad at Democrats and people who don't vote in Oklahoma.
Can I get a word in here?
Yeah, by all means.
Yeah, guys, you guys have seen the election maps for the presidential for the last 3 election cycles. It's all red. There's no point in showing up, Democrats. Just stay at home. There's
no reason to vote. You're lazy and you don't vote, and you should know better, but you're not.
There's only 10 of you. There's only 10 of you. Stay home. You don't.
Well, listen to this bull. If you showed up, things would change, but you don't show up, and the onus is on you. And honestly, whatever happens, I blame us. Let's get a large percentage of people voting, encourage your friends to register, and, prove me wrong.
Guys,
please.
Voting is cool, but what do leftists do? You know what else is cool? Staying home and getting high and watching Broad City. That's cool, too.
Wow. Wow.
I'm not wrong.
Wow.
Can you tell the viewers I'm not wrong?
I'm trying hard not to.
Hey,
Broad City is an excellent program.
Hey, it's a good show, but I mean, I'm not wrong in saying that.
Well, look, I mean,
just stay home, guys. Just that's the end of yeah.
Prove me wrong. Go vote.
Honestly,
I don't. Republicans are so organized in this state because they go vote and they get things done that they want.
And there's too many of us. You guys will never make a dent in the political machine. No, we can
make a huge dent, and if we make a dent now, we can prove that we can accomplish things in the future. So,
you're gonna waste your gas money getting down to the polls. There's wait in line for like an hour. There's really no reason. Like,
you will not wait in line for an hour.
You guys will. You usually will wait in line for like an hour, and then there's like an hour lost from your day, and you could have been spending it doing other stuff, like watching more Broad City. I'll disenfranchise voters. I don't care. I'm all
no, and that's the thing. He will, because Republicans know what they're doing. They get that it's a win-lose game. There's none of this goodwill nonsense.
Guys, it's not win or lose. At the end of the day, we're all just people, man. Like, it doesn't matter who wins.
No, we're not all just people. Some of us are awful and want to hurt the other people. So don't let those people win.
I don't want to hurt you guys physically. It's okay. It's okay. You guys it's all right. We'll take care of it. We'll be fine. Schools will get funded. You guys don't worry about it. Stay home. Take a load off. Good movies coming out. Pirate some of them. I know you guys aren't buying movies. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Hit me and Cass up. We'll come hang out with you on election day. It'll be fine. Be fine. Cass is just glaring at me right now, but I'm just telling for their mental health, they should just take a load off. Take a load off. Stay home. Anyway, let's cut back to I'm starting to see a vein throbbing in Cass's head. I'm going to go ahead and just continue on this making Cass angry train. Explain to him why he and other leftists are shooting themselves in the foot.
Oh my God!
When it comes to Trump.
Oh my God! Okay, but then I get to explain to you why this is all a bad faith thing, even though you think that's virtue signaling.
Oh, bad faith!
No, explain to me.
That is a dog whistle. That is a leftist dog whistle. And you guys don't have many dog whistles.
Telling us how to argue, telling us that we're doing arguing wrong. That's dog whistling.
No. I'm not telling you you're doing arguing wrong. There is no wrong way to argue. I'm telling you what isn't effective towards the demographic you were trying to reach, which is me and my people who you are making these arguments against. If you want to say, hey, don't say this to leftists because you're wrong, I'd be like, oh, okay, yeah.
Why would you give us genuine help? And this is the thing. People like this talk like this, and we listen. That's our mistake. Okay, I'm sorry. You know what? You go ahead.
No. Go ahead.
No, people like Chandler, Republicans, people on the right will make these arguments that, well, if you want to reach people on the right, that's not how to do it. People told me this all the time when I was a young gangbang talking about gay marriage. And here's the thing. They're lying to you. They do not care how well your arguments reach them. They want you to listen to them and use the tactics they describe because those tactics don't work and they know it. Keep fighting. Don't take no for an answer. Get loud. Use direct action if you have to. Vote. You have to do everything they tell you not to do in order to succeed. Because we're right. Ultimately, at the end of the day.
I would be such a better leftist than you would. It's crazy. I wish I was a leftist because I'd be so good at being a leftist. Guys.
You're good at being a tanky, but I don't know.
No, not a tanky. I would just be a good leftist, period. Oh God, how do I even say this? First off, everything about that was wrong. Because not only are you making it's not even about us at this point. It's about the people who don't care, and all they do is they just hear the back and forth, the constantly just the talk, like the yelling. Couldn't care. But specifically when you're talking to Republicans, guys, I'm someone who's not super pro-Trump on the show all the time. The man does and says stupid stuff all of the time. And then you guys lie about it and make it so much worse. The whole disabled reporter thing. Whenever you can look it up And you can easily tell that he wasn't making fun of that disabled reporter because he's been doing that about people since the 90s. It's like the man was already using hand gestures to insult people all the time.
What are you even talking about?
That's bad enough. That's bad enough.
We're not lying. Look at what he's doing. He's obviously making fun of people with disabilities. Who is he making fun of?
He's not. It was a limp-wristed. That is not a thing about. If it's anything, it's about gay people, which isn't better. But the fact that you specifically...
Okay, but the fact that you think that defending him on this point...
I'm not defending him on this point.
Yes, you are. By saying that it's not... You know, that's exactly what you're
Our
saying.
entire Facebook thread, I said the whole time, he is so stupid. And you guys ruin your entire argument by giving people that are like me, but worse, ammo by actually lying about it. When you say...
We're not lying. You're lying.
No.
He is making fun of disabled people.
No, he's not. And he was not making fun of the disabled reporter because there is a video trail since the 90s of him making fun of people that are not disabled all of the time with that exact hand gesture.
Okay, but that hand gesture, despite that you think it's about gay people, which is at the very least debatable, but is, factually wrong, is coded for disabled people. You don't make those gestures and talk like this.
He wasn't talking... Okay,
yes, he does. Yes, he does. Watch the video.
I can literally pull up like 10 of them right now.
All right, let's watch it. Pause. We're going to pause the podcast.
Inconclusive.
No, it's not inconclusive.
We will post a link in the comments section on YouTube.
The crux of your argument is that he's not mocking disabled people because his impression is that of a foppish gay man. All right? That's not how anyone from any time period imitates gay people. You have one limp wrist and then a voice that's deep down like this. And that voice is not evocative of gay people. That voice is a caricature. That voice is a caricature of people with disabilities.
We just watched 4 examples, and he did that in one of them.
Oh my God, he did the same thing in each one to varying degrees. In fact, the one that was the most intense was the one where he's talking to the disabled reporter, where he specifically says, "Do you see this guy?" And then he imitates him by holding his hand in the same position and talking in a way that caricatures disabled people.
Well, I mean, and then shakes it and moves around, which the guy...
Okay, so it's not a perfect impression. Are you kidding me?
Well, it's the exact same thing he did about a hypothetical banker and Ted Cruz, who is not disabled.
Because he thinks disabled people are funny.
No, I really don't think it's that. I really think it's just an old man.
Under the assumption that he's not mocking disabled people, he is in fact mocking gay people. One, that's not any better. So it's weird you're defending it with this.
I said that in our Facebook comment. I said that here. I said it's not any better, but whenever you misrepresent the argument and you give people fuel to say things like that, to call you on it. All you do, and it's not things like this.
No one thinks what you're thinking.
A lot of people think.
No, you are being.
This has 375,000 views. The one of Gavin McInnes had 10 million views, bro. A lot of people we talked about this on the phone. I don't have the liberty of avoiding your opinion. You have the liberty of only...
I see your opinion every day.
My opinion? You don't get any other conservative opinion. I guarantee you. That is just a consequence of being in a culture where it's super easy to avoid conservative opinion, where it's become kind of marginalized.
Because it's wrong. It's objectively wrong. I'm not saying the Democrats' opinion is right and the left, so-called left-wing media is right. But to say that yours deserves equal playing time or that I need to pay attention to it is absurd.
I'm not saying you need to pay attention to it. I'm just saying that you don't. And the fact that you think I'm the only one and you don't pay attention means you're not qualified to say I'm the only one. Because you don't know.
No, but I know margins, and I know how many people actually believe what you believe. It's not a lot.
It's quite a few people. I assure you.
It's quite a few people because you run in your own bubble.
No,
we all do. We all run in a bubble. You're not exempt from that.
These are big, conservative names. People who reach millions of people, tens of millions of people who watch these videos,
That's
bro.
Not a lot of people. Millions of people
who are actively politically engaged. Yeah, it's quite a few people. I guarantee the amount of people who watch Daily Wire is comparable to the amount of people who watch the Young Turks on YouTube. They're comparable. Saying it's not a lot of people. Yeah, maybe not compared to 300 million people in the United States. But how many of those people do you think are actively politically engaged?
Young Turks and the Daily Caller.
Wire. Daily Caller is
the Daily Caller is
Tucker's thing.
That's the okay. I get all those Daily Stormer, Daily Wire.
Daily Stormer.
Yeah, I get all those confused. But okay, the number of people who watch the Young Turks, even if that's comparable to the number of people who watch the Daily Wire, that is nothing compared to the people who watch Fox, CNN, and MSNBC. Those are the news sources.
Right.
And they all agree, where most people are getting their information, that he was mocking disabled people.
Most Fox people would not, and they are, by the way, the highest rated, for better or for worse.
I know, I said that. I'm not denying.
No, they would not agree with you. And that is a huge chunk of the people who pay attention to political news on cable television. If for no other reason than Trump did no wrong. But the fact that you said, like, no one believes that, that's just dishonest. That's just not true.
No, you're being disingenuous because you know he's making fun of disabled people.
I don't think he is.
You know that.
No, I don't think he is.
So you're really going to look at me and tell me that's an impression of a gay man?
I'm going to say it's a mixture of a bunch of things, but that it's not specifically tacitly a mixture of a gay
Is it offensive?
handicapped person. Yeah, absolutely. I said that multiple times.
Okay, I want you to say it again.
Yeah,
I don't believe that.
It's not offensive as in it's making fun of this one group.
Why does the distinction between disabled or gay or whatever the hell you think it is matter? It doesn't matter.
No, it does matter a lot. If you're going to fight against something, you need to accurately label it.
Stop telling us how to fight.
I'm letting you know. Like, if I'm sorry. Like, we're going to talk about discussion of how we're going to shape debate. I mean, just don't come to us with either spin or lies, because you're going to mire the debate down. And
It's
this
not spin. No one. Okay, let's assume that it is wrong. Okay, it's still perceived as being made fun of disabled people.
That's fine. Okay, dude, things
so
are perceived all the time.
So we have to talk about it in those contexts.
No, we don't. People perceive things wrong all the time. Okay, people perceiving things one way does not mean that they are right, and that we have to talk about it.
No, but that doesn't mean you get to laugh at people who perceive it in the way that they do because of the context in which they perceive it.
No, yeah, I do. Yeah, and if you perceive something wrong, I'm not obligated to be like, oh, he perceives it that way, so leave it alone. That is not how anything works.
No, but here's the thing. Here's why it's okay for liberals and leftists to say you're not arguing in good faith, which is a term I know you hate, which you think is a dog whistle. For what, I'm not sure. But if you're not arguing in good faith, that means you don't respect the person that you're arguing with, so you're not going to give them the time to give them your explanation, which you did not do. You were immediately flippant and rude.
To who?
To the people in my post.
Oh, we're talking about... No, I explained myself. I posted multiple pictures. I laid out an explanation. When
you don't need to do that when you dismiss people. No. That's not how you argue with people on the left, Chandler.
Well, that's fine. That's fine, but that's not how I argued. We can look at the post and we can talk about it.
Oh, no, God, I don't want to do that.
We can talk about it off the air, but... got off my point. You were saying something about the dog whistle. It's not... You disrespect. It's not that. It's that people use it as not in I disrespect the person. They use it as in you disrespect what I believe. That is what when people say good faith. It's nothing about respect towards the person. It's you disrespect my beliefs, so I think you're arguing in bad faith. You can say it's disrespecting the person all you want, but it's not used that way a lot of the time.
Okay, but when
you're disrespecting my opinion, my perspective. When
conservatives argue, they're usually, when we're arguing, particularly when this term comes up, is when we're talking about social issues. And when conservatives talk about social issues, that usually means talking about a person or person's right to exist, whether they be Muslim, gay, or something else that conservatives don't respect or want to create legislation against. I can't argue with someone in good faith who thinks it's okay not to sell me a cake.
Okay, no, that's fine. And
that's when
there are examples of that, but then there are other things like there are not many mainstream opinions. I would actually challenge you to find more than one or two that would say Muslims don't have a right to exist. Like that just is not a mainstream opinion. Like you saying that we don't say you have a right to exist.
The Daily Caller.
Well, I mean, they're still in the millions of people.
Okay, and then transitively, the people who believe Muslims shouldn't be in this country are millions of people, because millions of people voted for a man who said, let's ban all Muslims.
Even then, denying Muslims the right to exist is not the same thing as saying they can't be in the country. There is a marked difference there, and that's dishonest of you to say that saying they can't be in the country. But that's fine, but don't say they're the same thing when they're not.
Oh my God, but they're essentially the same thing.
Okay, then say that. Don't say that.
No, because you know what I mean.
No, I really don't.
You do know, though.
No, I don't.
You're an intelligent person.
No, I don't. I'm not going to just. I'm not going to follow you down your assumptions and what you like. Okay, I perceive it this way, so you should follow what I perceive. You should know what I'm saying.
Because we live in the same society with a shared culture, and you know me. Okay?
Sure.
So you know what I mean when I'm talking. Just like
there's a difference between me and you talking and between random conservatives and random liberals talking. Like me and you have a rapport. Like this, like what I would necessarily say to leftists talking about conservatives is not me talking to you, because me and you, we know each other. This is more of just random people talking to random people.
Well, okay, then that's a problem that the internet has produced, because ultimately we all know each other, because you're not that unique. I'm sorry.
No, yeah.
This is sidebar. You're not that special, and your book collection doesn't make you special.
You're dime
unrelated.
a dozen. You're dime a dozen. You're cookie cutter.
Anyway, and that's okay. That's fine. You still get to exist and be happy, but that's another thing entirely.
Yeah.
So why?
I find a lot of the times, and it's off-putting, and not just to me, just the hyperbolic nature of some of the arguments that the left makes. Well, and the right does it too. The right does it too. But
so why?
Why do you have to make them? Why do you have to make them? You were just about to say we have to make them. What for some of them?
We have to make them because you all want to legislate away people's civil rights.
Who?
And so you do. The Republican Party.
Whose civil rights?
Well, okay, mine for one. You voted for a man who said he wanted to ban Muslims from coming into the country. You want to take away money in schools that go to programs for disabled children. This is taking away their rights. You want to take away people's health care. That's another right you want to take away.
Well, okay. Well, there's a lot to unpack there.
Let's unpack it then.
I don't know if we have time to fully unpack all that. Some of that will be better for other episodes.
Let's go with the Muslim ban.
Okay. First off,
which he said he wanted to do.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you all voted for him.
And I will in turn point to the fact, like I have always said, there's a difference between Trump's rhetoric and Trump's policy. When you look at the actual Muslim ban, so to speak, which was just called that in the media, and which was dumb and sensational.
Because he said he wanted to ban Muslims from coming into the country.
But his ban was not a Muslim ban. It was
Yes, it was.
It was a ban on 7 countries, and there are 45 Muslim countries.
That was the actual legislation. I'm talking about what he said. Why would you vote for a man who you don't believe when he says the things he says?
Because do you honestly believe you believe politicians on everything they say? I believe
it signals the direction they want to go in, and the direction he went in was banning Muslim people.
No, he banned.
If it wasn't a full-out effect, you're going to look at me and tell me
not even a quarter. No, actually not.
Okay,
not even a fifth.
So you're going to tell me that the 8 countries he banned had nothing to do with the fact that they were predominantly Muslim countries?
First off, 6, because 2 of them, one was Venezuela and one was North Korea. No, all of them have very, very high ratings of terror and basically
so why
non-existent.
wasn't Saudi Arabia on the list? Because they sell us oil?
No, because they have a government that actually vets people.
Even though they funded 9/11?
No, yeah, they have a government that actually vets people. That was the reason that it happened. It's because the argument was made, you can't vet people that are coming from these countries that are in complete chaos and ruin, that don't have existing structures to vet refugees or immigrants or whatever you want, whoever is coming into the country, however they're coming into the country. That was how the argument was made. So we do not have a reliable database to check what these claims are being made against. And they were all countries that were like Yemen, countries like Syria, countries like Iraq, countries that just didn't have a centralized record system at all. That was how the argument was made. And it wasn't really our ban against Muslims, because it was 6 out of, I think it's 46 countries. I might be wrong, maybe 44. Yeah, and that goes back to what I've been saying since the beginning, the difference between rhetoric and policy. And yeah, not ideal, but I mean it's still reality in how it shaped up. It shaped up to not be a Muslim ban.
Okay, but then the problem is a fundamental difference on how we view reality, because I see no qualms with saying Muslim ban, because that's what I see it as. Okay. I'm not using that's not bombastic rhetoric.
Okay, I mean I get how you got there. But the product that we ended up with was not a Muslim ban. And I think a part of you could admit that, but I don't think... I would think that you would admit it as statistically, no, it's not.
I think it's the same thing as redlining.
Yeah.
Okay, redlining is the way they used... is what they used to keep black people from moving into certain neighborhoods. The law nowhere said anything about being African American or being black, but it only affected black people and white people because it kept black people out of their neighborhoods. That law is a racist law.
Okay.
Just like the Muslim ban, or just like the travel ban bans Muslims from coming into our country.
But then countries like Venezuela and North Korea kind of throw a wrench in that, don't you think?
No, because... No.
How do they not?
Because they're 2 countries, and they're inexplicably on the list.
Well, what do they have in common with the other countries?
Nothing. Which is anything proves my point further. Well, they were thrown in there, for anything, as a red herring.
Well, North Korea is actually the only big outlier. Venezuela, just kind of on the verge of collapse, is another government that's kind of in ruins, doesn't have great centralized records, wouldn't be able to easily check people coming into the United States. That is the common factor of all those countries. And whether there are countries that were excluded off that list that also are on the verge of collapse and don't have good record system, maybe that argument can be made. I don't know. But the fact is that that's what all those countries have in common, and it's not that they're all Muslim. And if it were a Muslim ban, it would include a little bit more than less than a fifth of all of the world's Muslim countries. You would think, anyway. I mean, if you were making a good Muslim ban, anyway.
I didn't say it was a good piece of bad legislation.
Right. So
I don't think he's smart, that his administration is smart enough to pull off anything like that.
Yeah. No, I find it...
and also, we can infer that the intent was a Muslim ban because it was a majority Muslim countries, and he said in the build-up to the election that he wanted to instate a Muslim ban. So when he instates a travel ban that is a majority Muslim countries, it is more than safe to assume that that was the intent, the purpose, and the end goal. How can you not see the correlation between those two things?
Like I said, I see where you arrived at it, but for me, you have to factor in what resulted from it. And what resulted from it was not a Muslim ban. Well, it was struck down. But the ultimate end piece was a country that affected, like I said, not even a fifth of all Muslim countries. So you have to take that into effect when you call it or don't call it a Muslim ban. That's just me. And that probably, to those listening, that probably illustrates a difference in the way we think about things. And it's like I said, like I get how you got there. Like I know what he said on the campaign trail. I know how you could easily be like, well, he said this, and he did a very, very scaled down version of this, so obviously he was trying to do this. Like that makes sense to me why you think that. For me, you just have to factor in what was actually done. And it just wasn't a Muslim ban. What was it? A piece of ill-thought legislation?
That
probably
prohibited Muslims from entering the country.
Some Muslims, but not even. I think the breakdown was not even 10% of Muslims across the world, across the global population. First off, Indonesia makes up, I think, 40% of all Muslims. But when you call it a Muslim ban and it only applies to 10% of Muslims, I mean, you're at that point being semantically dishonest.
Okay, that's like saying the Trail of Tears wasn't an Indian removal because it didn't include every tribe.
Well,
it's exactly the same.
No, it's really not, because all the other tribes have been moved before then. For one reason or the other, Trail of Tears was kind of together at the Remainers.
We know for a fact that's not the case.
Well, a good portion of them, yeah, had already been moved west.
But I thought you were a 100% or nothing kind of guy.
On what?
On these issues, because it wasn't 100% of Muslims, so it's not a Muslim ban. It included some people who weren't Muslims.
Yeah, no, it's not. Like if Trump had banned in the months before that, like 10, 12, even 20, even less than that. If he had banned just individual Muslim countries for a while leading up to that, and then he banned them, and it's
your argument
okay.
is like saying dams aren't water dams because sometimes there's debris that gets stuck behind the dam.
No, my argument is like saying if you put up a dam a fifth of the way, it's not a dam because it's not blocking anywhere close to all the water.
Okay, but is its intent to block water even if it didn't get finished?
Its intent, who knows what its intent was at that point. Why would you build something that doesn't work that way?
Because you're a bad administration who's really bad at doing evil things.
It wasn't a Muslim ban on its face and function. In intention, you could make that argument, but with what we ended up with, it wasn't. I'm going to pause. We're going to have a couple more drinks, and then we're going to launch into Star Trek.
I need to be more fired up. My blood pressure needs to be high.
Well, we're going to talk about Star Trek, so you can loosen your blood pressure.
If you think Star Trek is going to make me relax, I've got strong opinions, buddy.
We might agree on a lot of them, or at least it'll be a little bit more lighthearted. At least I hope. Are you an original series guy over Next Generation?
That's hard to say. There are things I like about each. I'm not absolutist when it comes to Star Trek. They've all got something to offer except Deep Space Nine. So
it sounds like we already have common ground.
Okay.
All right, guys. We'll see you in just a second. Well, let's launch back into it. Go real heated there. I really like it. Wish Jeremy was here. Thank goodness my baby is being babysat tonight. Shout out to my parents, because that would have definitely woke her up. I mean,
is that the key? Is that the key to a fiery podcast? No babies?
I'm probably so. Or she would have woken up and she would have let you have it. She would have been like, "You listen here, Marks," and she would have gone into this giant lecture. So we're going to transition to something a little bit more lighthearted. We're going to start off. We're talking a little bit about how just dense and almost unwatchable Deep Space Nine is over the break. We're going to start off with, let's hear, and I'm going to pull up my crew just so I can make sure that you have all of your roles, at least the ones that I had, filled out. But let's go ahead here.
Why don't you send it to me? Let
me read you mine first. All right. So. And these are the roles I have in the people. Fantasy crew. My captain is Picard. My first officer is Spock.
Fair.
My lieutenant commander is Data. My pilot is Tom Paris. My engineer is Geordi. My doctor is the emergency holographic program, because he was more competent than any of the other doctors. My head of security was Tuvok, though it could have been Odo.
Tuvok and Odo is your best choice. I want to say right now on the record, Worf was terrible at his job.
Yeah, no, I like Worf as a character.
I love Worf.
You can go, there are two great videos if you're a Star Trek fan. I recommend you watch them. The first of which is called Worf Gets Denied Again and Again, and it is a 16-minute supercut of people saying no to Lieutenant Worf on the show. And then there's another one called Worf Gets His Ass Kicked, and it is a 7-minute supercut of everyone from beings made of energy to old men beating up Lieutenant Worf. Two great supercuts. Look up on YouTube. Love Michael Dorn. Love the character of Worf. Terrible at his job. Absolutely right. So bad at his job. Not a good head of security.
No, 100% agree with you on all of that except one point.
What point?
I disagree with you.
Let me call it. Pilot.
No.
You okay? You like Tom Paris?
I like Tom Paris as pilot. I probably would have gone with Sulu, but Tom Paris is a competent choice.
Why I went with Tom Paris and where I'm at in Voyager is Tom Paris was the first one that broke warp factor 10. And he starts to age, and it didn't really count. But I mean, the fact that he did that is a huge attribute to his piloting.
Is that the one where he becomes a weird tadpole thing?
Yeah.
That episode, we could do a whole episode on that episode. But yes, no, Tom Paris is a very gifted pilot, but he also gets him into trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
He's a loose cannon.
I say piloting skills alone.
Sulu's piloting skills are on par, and he is a soldier. He is competent. He knows what he's doing. He doesn't take unnecessary risks.
And I believe they mentioned, and you kind of hear it in passing in the later seasons, that Sulu went on to be a captain of his own ship. I believe Commander Chakotay in Voyager mentioned that he got his start from Captain Sulu.
Now, I haven't finished Voyager yet. Me and Matt are marathoning it, but so...
That's before that episode. You've seen that episode.
Right, no, yeah. But, so I don't know what happens, but according to where I am in the show and where you are in the show, Paris is going right back to jail when he gets home. So,
What season are you on? Because we might be about the same point.
I haven't gotten to Unimatrix 0. I think I'm on season...
I haven't gotten to 7 of 9 yet.
You haven't gotten to 7 of 9?
I'm pretty early.
Way behind.
Yeah,
okay.
I know. I'm
Catch up and we'll get there.
Yeah, I'm pretty early.
Okay, but the one I highly disagree with you with is Doctor.
Really? Who do you have?
Yes. Okay, I have Dr. Phlox, the Denoblian.
From
Enterprise, man. Enterprise.
Did he replace McCoy?
No.
Oh, from Captain Archer's Enterprise. I've not seen that one.
Okay. Dr. Phlox cured Borg before they even knew what Borg was, because Enterprise is an S show. It is insane, and they just start doing whatever they want in the last season and a half, because they are just pulling out all the stops, and Phlox is always on point. Obviously, emergency holographic program is the correct answer because it has all the previous Doctor's knowledge. Although I wonder if it would have Dr. Phlox, because Dr. Phlox was pre-Federation and he technically wasn't on Starfleet. He was
Enterprise, the show was pre-Federation, correct?
Pre-Federation, that's right. And so the hologram program might not have had Dr. Phlox. So, yeah, I'm still going to go with Dr. Phlox.
That's interesting, since I have not seen the show, I cannot really dispute that. But would you put emergency holographic program as a second?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And a very competent number one. You did not choose incorrectly, but it's the only one where I'm like, no, I definitely have a different choice. Paris, I had to think about. Engineer Geordi, obviously.
So obviously Geordi.
Obviously Geordi. I mean, there's no competition. I mean, no one in Enterprise comes nearly as close. Voyager, you have what's her name?
I remember she's half Klingon.
Half Klingon. I know her name.
I don't remember. I know her name either. She's okay, but she's no Geordi.
No, she's no Geordi. You're absolutely right. Head of security, Tuvok is the correct choice.
It's close with Odo, though, because Odo can shapeshift, and he's tactically more advantages than Tuvok, but Tuvok is older, he is smarter, and he is, just with psychic abilities, you could argue that he could do more.
Right, and he's again, extremely competent, like Sulu. Now let's talk. The most controversial one is Captain, because everyone has a very hard choice for who their captain is. Why Picard?
How I break it down, and these are the three ones that I have watched a good amount of. I'm currently watching most of the series, and I'm not going to include Discovery just because I haven't seen enough Discovery. And
Discovery's not finished yet.
Exactly.
It's understood.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's understood.
The three that I have seen a good amount of are Voyager, The Next Generation, the original series. And how I break it down is this. Kirk is the soldier, Picard is the statesman, and Janeway is the scientist.
Oh my God, that's exactly what Matt says.
Yeah. And I would put Janeway over Kirk, and part of that is just acting style. I have to admit,
she's enjoyable to watch, isn't she?
Yeah,
she's a treasure.
And I don't even know, she's great, and I'm not going to denigrate her role, but also just saying that Kirk, just his act was just so ham-fisted that it makes him. I have to put him in my third.
It works in the context of the show,
but
it's different. It did not age well. It did not age well.
Yeah. Picard just in terms of. I would say he's the statesman, but he's shown part of being all three. He's not necessarily a scientist, but you would see him make decisions where he would defer to his science officers wisely all the time. He knew what science's limitations were and when he should let science kind of be the guiding principle of his missions. He made good military decisions. I would argue that he's even a better soldier than Kirk was. To me,
Kirk's a better combatant. Picard is probably a better soldier.
Yeah, well, of course. Yeah. I mean, Picard at the same time is the captain. He's not gonna go into combat with people because he's the captain. He's the last line of defense on that one.
Exactly.
Okay, so you agreeing on Picard?
I honestly, with Captain, I think it depends on the kind of mission we're describing. If it's a regular 5-year mission, like all of them were supposed to go on, I don't know.
Janeway was very competent being flung out into the Delta Quadrant.
I would feel safest with probably Picard.
Yeah.
I would have the most fun with Archer.
I need to see that.
You need to see Enterprise. It's honestly, there's you watch the whole thing. If you're a real Star Trek fan, it's all good. If you're not, there are key episodes you can watch that give you the flavor, and there are some really good episodes of that show. There are some really bad ones. Archer's just fun. I have a friend who describes Archer as the George Bush of captains. He's just kind of like, let's go out in that direction and just see what happens.
Okay.
We'll figure it out later, but it sounds great.
Was the Enterprise ship the same one that Kirk and crew inherited?
No, it was the NX-01. It was the first warp-capable vessel, Warp 5 capable vessel in Starfleet. Starfleet, of course, being Earth's space, future NASA.
Interesting. And it came out in the early aughts.
Early aughts, yeah, and it was...
And we mean 2000s to you plebes.
Oh, God, just start saying aughts. Don't say the 2000s, because that's not right. And it was a really good show, and I love the theme song that they use. Excuse me. Special effects are great. There's a great episode where that's all set in the Mirror universe. Oh, it's just a good show.
That's fun. That's fun.
There's Borg, which are very important to me.
I've heard bad things about Enterprise overall and compared to the other shows, but I trust your opinion on, well, I was going to say on a lot of things, but...
it's political bedlam for a reason.
Well, I mean, politics, definitely not. You're wrong on all that, but science fiction, you like The Last Jedi, so I really don't know if I can fully... But you're right on Star Trek, so I think I'll give you the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah, well, we both have a distaste for Deep Space Nine. So...
let's talk Deep Space Nine for a brief minute. We got to probably wrap it up here fairly soon.
Yeah,
but I liked a lot of the characters. It's just setting it in a space station and not a ship, just and making it kind of more about the political intrigue. I don't know, man. They made it dense.
Conceptually, you're describing what should be my favorite Star Trek show. It's just boring.
Yeah,
I just don't find any of it compelling.
It should have been set around the Bajorans too. The Bajorans were boring.
I have to agree, and I know. Look, I've only seen most of season 1. I know season 3 is where you're supposed to start if you don't like season 1. I will get to it eventually. but it's just a chore. And I really don't like Cisco and his weird monologues about baseball. And I'm sorry, the Kardashians are bad Nazis. You had better Nazis in the show. Again, I should watch the rest of it, but from what I've seen, it's just like, really? We have to wait? And it's not gonna be episodic? I have to watch every episode in order? Like, that's no fun. That's part of the fun of the Next Generations. You can skip several episodes and jump right back in.
Yeah.
TV doesn't work like that
all of those
anymore.
shows had
all
that.
of them are, except for Deep Space Nine and Discovery. Discovery's so good, though, I don't care. Like, have you watched any of Discovery?
The newest one? I've seen all of it.
You've seen all of it? I haven't finished, but...
How much have you seen?
I've seen the first half of the first season.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I know. I've got a long way to go. But it's just... It doesn't feel like Star Trek when I'm watching it, but it's so good I don't care.
Well, have you heard the Wikia news? And this will hopefully encourage you to watch it faster.
Yeah, right.
Have you heard the news about the casting for it?
Yes.
So Enterprise is going to be in it, and they just casted Spock for it. So
I am more than excited.
Yes, and Tig Notaro, very funny comedian, is going to be in the new season as well.
That's fantastic.
So
look up Tig Notaro if you haven't.
Very funny. Cancer survivor.
Like Bert Kreischer, takes off her shirt every comedy set.
Yes.
Famously known for it. So
very funny. Let's run on a little bit of the rest of this list, just so we can, I guess, hear alternatives. First Officer, obviously I watched the most Next Generation. Riker's okay, but to me, Spock was just so competent. And you want to get, for me personally, I'd want to have as many Vulcans on that crew as possible. Because Vulcans are just so much better than people.
But they're not, though, because everyone thinks that Vulcans are born emotionless. That's their religion. They're all a bunch of religious zealots.
Yeah.
That's messed up.
Yeah.
They all have emotions that they are not expressing. That's why you should watch Enterprise. They do some really cool stuff with Vulcans.
Okay.
And also, it's the only season where you see Andorians, and those are my favorite.
Interesting.
But anyway.
Well, okay, would you say someone other than Spock for your First Officer?
No, I think I would go with Spock. I think Chakotay's a good choice.
Chakotay is good.
I think,
Riker's too cavalier. He's basically Diet Kirk, though.
He's exactly Diet Kirk. He is He's a politically correct Kirk.
Yeah,
is exactly what he is.
He's not just like kissing random women without consent, and just punching old men in the face and stuff.
So in that way, he's much superior to Kirk, but he's not as fun. No, Spock is your best option.
Let's go Lieutenant Commander.
Okay, Lieutenant Commander. Data. Yeah, you gotta have. If you have Spock, you gotta have.
Who was the equivalent in Voyager? Was it Henry?
No. Henry never. Henry was he was the only character in the show who never advanced.
Oh, that's
he stayed in his rank the entire time. The equivalent of Data. I mean, I don't. Who is Lieutenant Commander? A Lieutenant Commander is technically your second.
First Officer is your second.
First Officer is your second.
Yeah. And then Lieutenant Commander
number one.
Lieutenant Commander is number two. It would be what the captain would call number two. He'd be technically your number three.
Let me look up Lieutenant Commander Voyager because I know all these characters. I just don't know the.
I'm trying to think of who it is.
Okay, Memory Alpha pulled up someone named Cavett, and it is not that person. It was a human male. Cavett held the rank of Lieutenant Commander and was assigned as Captain Janeway's first officer on the newly commissioned USS Voyager. Cavett ready for blah 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 blah.
I'm pretty sure he died.
Yeah, he died. That was the whole point. Was he died,
and then the Maquis replaced him.
And that's a whole interesting thing that they never really. He was replaced as first. Okay, so Lieutenant Commander is first officer.
Oh, is it?
Well, that doesn't make any sense. How come Data was Lieutenant Commander and Riker was number one?
Okay, no, I think part of this question is because discrepancy, not discretion, is that several times throughout the later seasons of Next Generation, they said Commander Riker is eligible. First Officer Riker is eligible to become his own captain, but he didn't want to be.
He wants to be on Enterprise
because he wanted to be on the Enterprise. So he stayed, even though he had the rank, and I guess Data moved up to the same rank, but Riker had seniority.
Here's the thing: we're talking about this, and we know way too much about it. There are people out there who would listen to this and yell at us for getting stuff wrong, and that just warms my heart.
Yeah, me too.
I love that there are people who are way more into this than I am.
What warms my heart is that there is somewhere out there. There's a diehard leftist who would yell at us, and there's a diehard Republican who would yell at us. We can all get together about yelling about people not knowing enough about Star Trek.
Yeah, our common thread is Star Trek. I don't hate that. I mean, I hate the idea of a common thread.
Would you say Trek over Wars?
At the end of the day, yeah. I love Star Trek. I like Star Wars. I like Star Wars because I'm American and we all like Star Wars.
Right.
I fell in love with Star Trek because it's so optimistic and it's really good sci-fi of every type. It's alternate reality. It's dystopian. It's political. It
set the bar of what sci-fi was for me.
Well, I mean that's a good bar. That's a really good bar.
Well, so there's so many things like I partook in a lot of sci-fi, and then I started really watching The Next Generation from like 17 years old to 20 years old, and there were all these things I saw in my youth, and I was watching The Next Generation. I was like, oh my God, that movie that I was watching, they got that idea from this episode of Next Generation. Oh, that TV series, they got that from this episode of Next Generation. Right. They came up with so many ideas that other people ripped off of.
Yeah, that's absolutely
that's a good benchmark for like objectively good content.
Well, it's kind of like that South Park episode. The
Simpsons
did it first.
Yeah.
In science fiction, Star Trek did it.
Yep.
Whatever you're thinking, Star Trek did it.
Well, we will have to talk more about that soon. Outside of Ant-Man and the Wasp, I would love to have Matt on just to talk some Star Trek.
Oh, we could do a whole episode on Star Trek.
I think next episode.
He's an Uber fan.
We don't care if you guys are here for politics. We want to talk about Star Trek.
You know what? And we're gonna.
We might name this show Star Trek Bedlam or something.
We're still figuring ourselves out.
Yeah, we're finding ourselves.
You know, we're growing.
I just wanted to let Cass know, even though we yelled at each other a lot in this episode, I hate you. Get out of my house.
That's, appropriate. I wouldn't want to be here any longer than I already have been.
Well,
so,
good.
Don't think we're friends. I know
friends.
You all think we're friends because we're kind of nice to each other at the bookends, but I don't like this man.
Nah, yeah.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even call him a man. More of a beast, really. More of just a savage animal. Guys, take care.
Have a good
Appreciate
evening.
you listening.